Hello, and welcome to our program, American Dream Latin Souls. I'm Daniel Ortiz, and today my guest is entrepreneur David Gatt. David, welcome to our program.
Hey, thanks for having me. Right on.
David, you're part of a major trend that's happening in the U.S. right now, which is Hispanic business ownership. Hispanics are starting businesses at a rate 4 times the population at large, and it's mostly small businesses. And I want to share your story because I think it's interesting, particularly with New Mexico and the history of the background. So we definitely want to hear your story, and I want to know what your American dream is and what it means to you.
Well, I think just like anyone else here in America, just the idea of being able to provide for yourself, be able to provide opportunities for your family, to do well and to find, get your piece of the pie in a sense, without, losing your dignity or really kind of having to do something that's absolutely corporate or something that maybe might suck the life out of your interests and your loves.
That working in corporate America sucks the life?
I've been there.
Because it did for me.
I don't think necessarily, but I think to some degree the mentality is, hey, trying to be a little bit more independent, really kind of tapping into what drives us, and really kind of trying to make a living doing what we love. And that's why I got into doing hair. It's like, that's not something that most people aspire for, when they're thinking they want to make money and so on.
Right. Well, you have an interesting take on it because you are the founder of Square Root Salon, or the co-founder, I guess you are. Yeah. And so we talked about the business. We'll talk about the business aspect of salon business because most people, of course, you said, right, don't think they want to grow up and do hair or think that as a business. Yeah. So I have to ask you, Square Root Salon, so how did you come up with that name?
Well, my business partner, Jason, he actually came up with the name, and the significance really for us is hair cutting, for example. It's all geometric
Really?
Shapes. You're talking about...
I thought it'd be just kind of one direction flat.
Nah, well, even that's a geometric shape.
Right?
You think you put a square on someone's head, that's a geometric shape, right?
Okay.
So the idea of Square Root Salon really kind of came from the idea of that geometry and root, getting back to your roots, really kind of square one, that kind of thing, and really kind of getting back to what we really, really love, which is doing good hair and not, not really getting stuck in the machine that sometimes happens in pretty much every industry. So
I have to ask you, who does your hair?
Actually,
I don't see any geometric shape there. So
I think my business partner,
chaos
Jason,
theory is more.
Exactly. Controlled chaos. No, I'm just kidding. Really, my business partner did it last time, but I'll have some of the gals that I'm training in the salon do my hair, and we just really kind of it's a really nice group of people. So we're constantly making sure we look sharp and
absolutely
and ready to go.
Your product.
Yeah.
Okay. So you shared an interesting tidbit when we were talking earlier this morning about the type of clientele, or a unique type of clientele that sees the sign and wants to know what it's all about. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we get a share of people from the labs and different people that expect us to be like, hair and science nerds or something like that. But we're really, it's not really about math for us. It's not really about the science. Although we are methodical in our teaching, and we're into being intelligent hairdressers, and really making sure that we're doing what is right technically as well as really excelling creatively, and but by no means are we math nerds. And so when we have people come in and ask us about that, they're a little disappointed when we don't have a funny math anecdote or something to answer it.
Okay, so tell me about the business of cutting hair. I would assume that it's pretty much recession proof. I mean, people always need to cut their hair. Of course, not everybody gets the expensive due. So, I mean, tell me about the business of the salon industry. Yeah,
well, I think in general there's 3 different elements or 3 different facets of the hair industry. You have your barber shops, and then you have your no appointment type shops, the walk-in type no appointment type shops, and then you have your higher end or mom pa type places, more independently owned salons. Sometimes you have combinations of those or models mixed up a little bit. We chose to go the route being independent, doing our own thing. We do charge a premium. At the same time, we're committed to excellence. So our attitude really comes from years and years of not only us training ourselves and going out and getting education around the country, but also becoming educators and training. Right? Yeah. So I've trained for almost 10 years around the country, teaching people haircutting and doing hair shows and miscellaneous things. So to be able to concentrate and focus on developing our staff and actually having some sort of edge over the next salon, I mean, is absolutely
so education
essential.
Is a big part of it.
Absolutely. It's like anything else. You talk about, the coffee industry, for example. Why does Starbucks do it right? You know what I mean? They do it right because they have consistent training, consistent product, consistent environment. You want to be there and you're hooked, right?
Right.
So, we want to make sure that we're on top of our game and we're continually growing and going that direction.
Okay. So. Well, you definitely fit the profile of an entrepreneur, which is the biggest personality aspect of entrepreneurs is independence. I mean, you seem like a real independent guy in creativity, and you seem to thrive in an environment where you create out of your own experience or background or creativity something that's uniquely you. And so, I saw pictures of your studio. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, the studio is, so what went into the design of that?
Well, really, it was my business partner Jason and I with a drawing pad, and we just drew out what we thought would look cool. Yeah. And honestly, both of us, we both have pretty good taste. We're both married to women that are creative ladies also, and so it was really kind of a thing that we wanted to do. Keep an open environment, a lot of light, and just a lot of space. A funny story in putting the salon together was the amount of money we put into the sound system, right?
Right?
The wives disagreed with it sharply, but we said, okay, we're men, we need good sound, right? You have to have a good sound system, right? And if you have some really nice bumping music in the background, for some reason work just seems all the more pleasurable, right? So that was kind of a funny thing.
Well, you definitely don't see that at the mass market salons, right?
You don't, yeah. So we definitely have that kind of niche, and it's really paid off. We've really seen a lot of people come even just to look at our space.
Is that right?
Yeah, which is really great. And a good portion of those, they end up becoming clients of ours. But it's really neat to see people just want to see who we are, just because we showed up, So.
Great. So would you say you're living your American dream?
Oh, absolutely. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I'm dedicated to doing everything that I enjoy, and if I can make a living at it, then awesome.
That's almost better, right?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Well, that's the key. With the start business, I think the statistics are something like 80% of Americans dream of owning a business or actually own a business, but very few actually do.
Yeah.
And being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's definitely not the easy path in life.
Yeah.
It's definitely the most rewarding, if you can make it work. So we talked about your background previously, and you at some point made a decision because a while back when you were younger, your path was on a totally different trajectory.
Yeah.
Right? And you made a decision at some point that changed your life and leads to where you're at now. So would you share that with us?
Well, I think really coming from the background of, my father was military, business, great guy. My dad's an awesome guy. And, he was really kind of an overachiever. I was always into the arts, into, kind of messing around. And I really kind of went the opposite route and really just I think I was really just, I'll be honest with you, really just angry with everything and everyone. Angry with the church, angry with my family, angry with the world and how its current state. Mix that with some teenage angst and a whole lot of drugs, and I was a mess, right? Okay. And so that went on for years, where I just really got into some serious trouble with the law and with my family, and I think it really kind of came to a head when I was living with a drug addicted woman that was pregnant, and she and I were pretty much going down the wrong road together, and we ended up having a child. And during that time, I think some pretty serious things happened. Kind of rededicated to my faith in God, and that was a big part of it. And also,
was there an event? They say that a lot of people who are on drugs or alcohol, they hit bottom. Was there an event that triggered that?
You know what? Yes and no, but you think it might be a huge event like getting in a car accident or falling off a cliff or something.
It could be something very simple.
For me, quite honestly, it was I started working in a salon and I was shampooing a lady's hair, and that was the event.
You had an epiphany.
I had an epiphany.
Okay.
And she just flat out asked me. She asked me if I believed in God, if I believed in Jesus, and I was just like, of course. What are you talking about, right? As I'm shampooing her hair, and for me, it was just like, I was going down the wrong road quick, and the idea of reconnecting with God was, even though I was born and raised Catholic. I mean, we had a rich heritage of Catholicism and on both sides of my family, and but there was a huge disconnect there, and I found out that the root of a lot of my frustrations and anger was more spiritually based than it was anything. I think, to be quite honest with you, and so that day, she led me in a prayer while I'm shampooing her hair. And I didn't really know what that meant, receiving the Lord, as she said. But that day, it really kind of threw me into cold water, to be honest with you. Okay. I felt some of that childlike innocence, and I didn't know what that was. It kind of freaked me out. And not that my life changed overnight. It took a while to change. But for some reason, it definitely changed. Serious. There was a serious prick in my conscience to where now I couldn't get away with being the person I had been. Lying hurt me now. Some of the stuff I was up to, it didn't feel right anymore. And given some time, and some conditioning, and it's still going. This is 22 years ago, and it's still going in that direction where I'm learning to submit more and really kind of yield to what God might have me do. And so it's really great. So.
Well, I'm finding that, although we don't talk about it a lot, it's not in the media a lot, but for a lot of entrepreneurs, they have a very strong spiritual connection. Yep. And sometimes it's with an organized religious faith, sometimes it's more general and spiritual. Yep. And I'm writing a book called How to Achieve the American Dream Without Losing Your Latin Soul. It doesn't have to be Latin soul, but it's your soul. Yeah. And ultimately, we're on a journey. Yeah. And business or the choice of career vocation is part of that journey. Absolutely. Ultimately. And with Hispanics, usually our greatest values are faith, family, and frijoles. Yeah, no lie. I agree. And frijoles, is a catch-all term I use for just culture. Yeah. Be part of it. So interesting. So tell me about your family. What role does family play in your background? You said your mother is from Abiquiu. She's from Abiquiu, yeah. I was talking about it earlier with you about how they actually did the genealogy on my mom's side of the family, and it dates back to some of the original settlers in Abiquiu in the 1400s. Wow! And so, so 500 years of Trujillos and and there's a number of different names that are considered family. If I go into Abiquiu, I'm pretty much related to everyone, and even when you say, hey, how am I related to Uncle so and so? Well, he's actually not really related, but he's how it works sometimes. But really, family is absolutely key. I mean, growing up, my family was everything, and as I kind of strayed away from some of my values, that strain actually really hurt me seriously. So as I got older, and kind of made sense of some things, rekindling those relationships with my parents and with my sisters and my brother were just absolutely key. And now, really, even though I was anti-marriage for years and kind of anti a lot of things for years, once I actually kind of came into the clear a little bit, I knew that I wanted to be married. I knew that I wanted to have children. This was really, it's just deeply ingrained in me. And I think, you hit on something that's really important. As Hispanics, family is like, you have to have that warmth. You have to have that surrounding, that accepting, that accepting, and that affirmation from the people that you love. And you need to be able to care for someone. And family brings meaning to the work. I mean, what does it mean to be successful? My former life, I sort of had a former life as well. Yeah. I was a stockbroker and was living in Las Vegas and Nevada and working for the Citibank and doing well, but disconnected from New Mexico, the roots, the family, and it was meaningless after a while. So again, back to faith, family, and frijoles. Exactly. So what role does family play in your business?
Well, one of the neat things with our employees, for example, almost every single one of our employees is married with children. I think the demographics for salons, as far as the hairdressers, are typically younger women, single.
Sure.
And so we have a kind of a unique blend of stylists. We have 9 stylists now. We have 3 front desk people, and really it's and then we have 3 assistants also.
Wow.
And so it's a good group of people, and it's really neat that we're bringing our kids in with us sometimes, and they'll actually help around the salon on occasion, right?
Yeah.
We try to keep that somewhat limited.
Right.
But as far as family friendliness, if you have a soccer game, let's adjust your schedule. You need to be at your kid's soccer game. That type of thing. I think it's priority to both my business partner and I. We both agree that this is, you have to have your family connections or work's going to stink. That's just the way it goes. So you have to keep that in touch. And for me, it's true too. One of the big things with my wife, when I was doing all my traveling and teaching and doing all these types of things, I'd come home and she'd say, you may be a superstar hairdresser when you're away, but I need a diaper change right now, right? So the mentality was, hey, if you're at home, you need to put effort into being a good dad, into being a good husband, et cetera, et cetera. And I absolutely agree. I wouldn't want to leave a legacy of neglect.
Yeah.
Or something of that nature.
Of the dollar, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There has to be that balance. If there isn't the balance, it's not worth it.
So, usually, we have, I think a lot of Americans face that struggle, family time and work.
Yeah.
Family and work. And as an entrepreneur, you have a little bit more control over that.
Yeah.
I don't know what your commute is, but you're not commuting to a long area. But do you feel like on a net basis, it adds to your bottom line in business or takes away?
Family time?
Yeah. Or just having kids around the salon, or just the time that you spend with family, maybe going to these soccer games when you could be managing your business or managing clients.
I think honestly, without the family component, I think business suffers. I just feel that it's
I think
that
it's really
important.
one of energies, what I see with the clients that I coach, because if you're happy, you're more productive.
Absolutely.
And you don't and productive doesn't mean being at the office or the place of business, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
You can be there 20 hours a week and be more productive if you're happy, if you're energized, if you love what you're doing, like you said. So.
And and what a bummer for the people that come in, day out and check in, but they have nothing to go home to. It's kind of really like, okay, so what is their life? Is it work? For
a lot of people it is,
and I just think that's sad, right? Personally, I really just think that, without family connection, where's the motivation? I really think that is
your family
A1
inspires
importance. You. Absolutely, yeah. I think they're great, and my family's awesome, right?
Yeah.
I have a blast. My wife is hilarious, and she's a good woman, really supportive. She actually helps out at the salon with some of our financial stuff, and the kids, when they're there, I'm not kidding, I put them to work.
Good.
Everyone's kind of shocked to the other staff members.
I can see little kids running around cleaning.
I'm not kidding. They were doing windows the other day.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of neat.
Okay, great. So tell me about your logo. When I saw, you have an interesting name, of course, Square Root Salon, which is, you told us about that, but how did you come up with that logo? It seems like almost like a hammer and sickle type of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a power to the people.
That's the sense I got.
So really, kind of some of the imagery you have, like the beams of light coming off, are kind of a Japanese type of thing. Revolution, that type of mentality. The power to the people thing has been used, by the Black Power movement and by a number of other movements over the years.
Right.
Our whole thought was, and I sketched it out, thinking, getting back to our roots, right on. It's like let's do some good hair. Screw corporate America, whatever. I don't know what we're saying exactly, but the whole slogan, "Beauty to the People," was kind of like, let's bring what we absolutely love to everyone, to anyone, right? And let's make it that way. And and I think some proofs of that actually, someone said that hey, if you're catering to a certain group of people, then how are you bringing beauty to the people, right, in general? And so that really kind of lends to some of the things we do, like the volunteering that we do.
Tell me
like
about that. What do you?
Well, you know,
Do you
we
have a
do.
designated charity or?
Yeah, we
organization?
work with the Albuquerque Rescue Mission, and so we're there typically once every 4 to 6 weeks, and we go and just cut hair for
Oh, nice.
the homeless.
Yeah.
I've been doing it since about 1992,
Uh-huh.
and it's been something that's been dear to me, just because I see
Well,
I
that can,
see what
that
it
can
does.
transform a person's life. I remember
Absolutely.
when Katrina hit in Louisiana,
Yep.
in New Orleans, and of course it displaced so many people, and it was such a tragedy. And there were people who had actually gone all the way to Houston, you know, just to live. They were housing them in these warehouses. And I remember, I think it was on CNN, there was a person who did hair, and he did that as a volunteer and cut hair. And they interviewed the people before and afterward, and the self-esteem.
big time.
Big time, so
Yeah.
that's an important aspect. And you know, we really don't realize how important our appearance is. I mean, you know, this morning, you know, obviously for this show, my appearance is important, and it does bring, enhances the self-esteem if our hair's right.
Oh
right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know, and I think homeless people, to be quite honest with you, a lot of them aren't physically touched, you know, unless it's by a doctor or something of that nature.
Right.
And they're not talked to face to face. A lot of homeless people don't have someone look them in the eyes and ask them, what would you like me to do? You know what I mean? It's always the opposite, get out of my way, or people trying to ignore them or something of that nature. And so I think it's not only humbling for the stylists and really helps us to keep the right mindset in the salon, but it's a good thing in place of just giving out a handout or money to people that you might question their motive.
Sure.
This is a great way to give our talents back to the community and actually, you know, and actually see people, you know, their whole countenance change in a matter of moments. It's great. It's really great.
Yeah.
So and as you think about it, you know, homeless guy going out looking for a job, if he looks and feels good,
Absolutely.
you know, that could make the situation better. You know, so.
Yeah. So giving back to the community is a big part of your business model, your own philosophy of life.
Yeah.
Okay. And as an entrepreneur, you actually have more control over that than the average person who works at a, you know, government job or a state job or a corporate job. So interesting. Okay. Now you obviously have an artistic flair, and you show me some of your artwork. You actually combine the business of salon and owning a salon, but you also, it seems like you can't get away from the art. Right,
Yeah,
that's a big.
it's in my blood.
It's an expression. So, is it from your mother's side? I think you mentioned.
Mother's side, yeah, we a long line of santeros.
Santeros, okay.
You know, and bone carvers and
That's a traditional northern New Mexico thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
And
anything
so
with crafts. So
I have a number of uncles, and you know, my Nino, he does straw applique. You know what that is?
I've seen it. Yeah.
It's intricate. Yeah, and he's won a number of awards and for his artwork, and you know, I have you know, a number of different family members that have been doing this ever since I've been born. That I've seen it. I've grown up around and this type of thing, and we had artwork hanging in our home from family members, and it's one of those things that I was into as a child, and it just continues even to date. Now the artwork that I do isn't traditional at all. It doesn't.
It
look
reminds
like,
me of what's that Spanish artist Picasso. Some of it's Picasso-esque.
Yeah,
a little bit, or influence. It seems
it's a little bit of that. I think for the most part, there's a few different styles that I paint in. Some of it's really gestural, and it's kind of almost more dreamlike. Some of it's really intricate and detailed, and has more of a kind of Salvador Dali type of images morphing into other images and that type of thing. All of it is really kind of, every painting I do has some sort of story to it.
Is that right?
And again, it comes back to different lessons I've learned coming through some of the hardships you know, that I went through, and just kind of helping to make sense of things. So I mean, some of the images might look pretty dark and pretty intense and that type of thing, but typically they have stories that are somewhat uplifting if told, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have paintings at the salon, actually, a few, 3 or 4 of them hanging up at the salon, and it's really kind of neat to hear what people say, you know. Sometimes the comments aren't so nice.
Is
you
that
know?
right? Well, art is subjective. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And therapeutic too for the.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's get back to the business aspect of it. starting a business is not easy from scratch.
Yeah.
I mean, and yours, I mean, obviously, it came out of your vision. You had a vision first. You didn't have a template. It was not a franchise. You just, so tell me some of the challenges that you had just creating this business.
Well,
And how did you overcome them?
Well, I think a lot of what was challenging about the business, well, I'll tell you what was easy about the business.
Okay.
Designing the space was easy. You know, what we wanted to charge was easy. Who we wanted to be around and kind of the culture of the environment. That was the easy part because that's just how I think, how my business partner thinks. We're into that. The hard part was actually, securing finances, right?
Yes,
that's
of
the
course.
part. That's the daunting part of opening a business is understanding that and taxes and some of the insurance issues and all these different things. It's a little frightening to actually go head on into that type of thing, knowing that you're going to have to pay people back and you're going to have to be accountable for every dollar spent.
Right.
And so I think
So you secured investors, or?
Yeah, actually my dad ended up being our largest investor, so that was really
Well, in
nice.
Hispanics, usually it's family.
Yeah.
Going back to the family, the strength of the family. Yeah.
But that was, I think, probably the most challenging part. Managing people and doing education and actually being behind a chair doing hair. Those types of things, although they can be challenging, they're pleasurable. It's great being around people. It's great coaching people and helping to develop people. I think it's a good thing. So I think the hardest part, honestly, was, the behind the scenes stuff that nobody sees. How is your business structured?
Right.
Where are you getting your money from?
What is the structure? Is it a partnership, a limited liability company, corporation?
We're a corporation, and so
S corp, C corp.
I think we're actually we're a C corp.
C corp.
Yeah, and then with a partnership.
Okay.
So,
Right.
and really,
Did you get any education on the business side? Because I know in New Mexico, the governments usually have programs like through the SBA, Small Business Administration, there's SCORE, there's various organizations.
Yeah.
Do you seek out any of those? Or?
I had got some. I got some information from SBA a few years back, read through some of that, and had some information on hand. And when we started to actually look into loans, we went through SBA also. Okay. So we secured some money through them, Wells Fargo and SBA.
What was that like?
Hard. It was hard. I mean, they were helpful.
You're kidding. Working with the government agencies is hard.
They were helpful, but it was really
paperwork and next.
Woo, it was difficult.
Okay.
It was very hard.
All right.
Yeah.
So what would you say to any young budding entrepreneur who's viewing this program, senior interview, and they have a vision for a business, and maybe they have an artistic flair, and usually business and art don't usually come together. It's very rare to do what you do. Somebody has the right brain, vision and artistic flair, and to really come down to filling out paperwork with the government.
Exactly.
I mean, that's usually where a lot of people stop.
Yeah.
Or they give up. So what kind of advice would you give to anybody, an entrepreneur?
Well, I've told several people, that get into doing hair, for example, just because you do good hair doesn't mean you'll be a good business owner.
True.
So the way I see it is partner with people that know more than you.
Okay.
And bump elbows with people you look up to. Look for mentors. Look for people that will inspire you and will actually throw you a bone when you need some help.
Okay.
And really, I mean,
was it hard to ask for help?
Nah,
Okay.
I mean,
A lot of entrepreneurs are very independent, so
yeah.
Asking for help sometimes for a lot of people is difficult. So you obviously didn't have that, and of course you had your family who was supporting you throughout this process.
Well, and I know my strengths, and I know that finances, that's not my strength, right? So, I don't think it takes much for me to humble myself and say, hey, could you give me a hand on figuring out these figures?
Okay, great.
And really, my business partner, he's great. He's very left brain. I think I definitely lean more right brain, and so it's really been a great partnership in that sense.
Okay, great. Well, David, thank you for sharing your story. I really am inspired by your salon, and if I lived in Albuquerque or when I'm in Albuquerque, I'll definitely stop by and take a look at it.
Good.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And I want to thank our audience for joining us on this version of American Dream Latin Souls. Be sure to visit us on our website, latinosuccess.com. Thank you.